Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining what we hope will be a very interesting webinar for you today. We're delighted to have you all with us to show you Apporto CyberLabs. This is our dynamic virtualization environment, which is perfect for your cybersecurity programs. Firstly, some introductions. I'm Phil Morgan. I'm the UK Director for Apporto. I've been working in higher ed almost 20 years now, the first 10 years at a university in the UK. And since then, I've worked for global edtech companies supporting universities and colleges all across Europe and the US. So I hope you won't mind listening to a Brit for part of our webinar today. I'm also joined by our solutions architect, Phil Spitzy. Phil, over to you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you as well for joining. Yeah, Phil and I are long lost brothers almost. We have similar backgrounds in IT. I also worked here in the States at a couple of universities, and we found ourselves together at another ed tech company in the UK not too long ago. And now we're back together here at Aporto and excited to show you what we've got.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. Okay. So first of all, let me tell you a bit about Apporto. So Apporto was founded in 2014 with the specific intent to deliver a next generation virtual computer lab to universities and colleges. Now, many virtualization companies start by saying that they want to solve general market needs, but at Apporto, when we talk to universities like Stanford and UCLA, they told us that even though they had virtualization solutions, they did not fulfill their needs of higher ed institutions. So we started with that mission. And since then, we've been successful in supporting over 200 higher ed customers all across the US and beyond. And one of the things that sets us apart is that we are an internet native company. So everything we deliver as a service. Yeah, so traditionally, if you want to do virtualization, you might have to buy hardware, you have to buy licenses, you've got to install a lot of software, you've got to manage it. With Aporto, it's all SaaS-like, meaning you don't have to buy any hardware, you don't have to worry about maintaining the systems, the security, the backups, it's all taken care of for you. And we pride ourselves on making each customer a reference. We want to make sure that everyone speaks very highly of our service to other universities. And in fact, we recently invited our customers to rate us on Gartner's peer review site. I'm very, very pleased with the results. 100% of our customers said that they would recommend us. And we actually scored higher for higher education than even companies like Citrix and VMware. And I think you're going to see why that is in the demo shortly. And because this is a true SaaS service, it typically only takes 2 weeks to onboard, and there's little to no requirements on internal IT. So it's very, very easy to get started. So the reason we created our CyberLabs solution was due to a number of key factors. Firstly, according to Fortune magazine, the number of unfilled cybersecurity jobs grew by 350% in under 10 years from 2013 to 2021, reached 3.5 million unfilled jobs worldwide. And that number continues to grow. It was actually reported to US Congress last month that there are 660,000 cybersecurity job openings in the United States, but only 69 skilled workers for every 100 that employers need. And it's a huge shortfall. So that is likely to continue unless we can recruit and train more students into cybersecurity. So it's not surprising that more and more higher education institutions are developing cybersecurity courses, and college enrollments are increasing rapidly in this area. So we just wanted to kick off a quick poll to ask you whether your school offers classes in cybersecurity or CS or MIS. So I think Phil is going to kick off that poll now. And you should see that come up on your screens. And if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment to respond, it would just be interesting to see how many of you are already delivering cybersecurity type courses, or maybe some of you that are here today are planning to do this in the future.
Yep, very good. We've got some responses coming in. We'll give it another 15 or 20 seconds here. Let those folks who stepped away for a coffee rush back to click the yes button. Or
Indeed. Yeah.
Give it 5 more seconds. Perfect. Yes, so not surprisingly, 100% of folks who responded, their school is currently offering such classes.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, that's great. I mean, everyone here is on board with this trend by the sound of it. It's fantastic. Okay, so what we've learned from talking to our customers across the US who are delivering cybersecurity programs is that it is a real challenge, and there's a number of inherent risks. So students, obviously, they need to have hands-on experience with exactly the kind of keyloggers, malware, viruses that internal IT want to prevent from traversing the network. And we've even heard instances where internet service providers for the university have complained that the university seems to have viruses and malware running on the network. And in order to support hands-on learning, students and faculty also need the freedom to be able to configure their own networks and systems and to have root access. But of course, at the same time, as well as supporting cybersecurity teaching, campus IT need to protect the college network against security threats. So consolidating those requirements might mean that there's a disconnect between your needs in teaching and central IT provision. And we know some colleges have created bespoke cyber labs, but that does take time. The physical equipment to do that is costly. And obviously creating a bespoke environment also requires a lot of faculty time as well, plus the time to maintain, particularly if students break their VMs, and that can then eat into teaching time as well. So what we found is that ultimately most institutions want to put these kinds of labs off their networks. But we wanted to ask you, so another quick poll, we're interested to know, do some of your lab exercises violate IT policies? So do you have this conflict?
Got some results coming in already. Thank you, everyone. Give it 10 more seconds. Perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone. So by and large, the responses were in the yes category, with a few folks unsure if they are in violation or if there's an issue there. So
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm sure people will be getting a call if they do they do let malware viruses out across the network. So yeah, good to confirm that is the case. Okay, so we know obviously that some universities are creating localized labs and trying to disconnect those from the campus network. But as I said, obviously that does require expensive equipment, and then students can only access that equipment in physical labs. But at the same time, I think there's this background in education nowadays of increased demand from students for digital equity and 24/7 services. Yeah, we need to ensure that all students are empowered to learn and that they're not disadvantaged if they don't have a laptop or a PC capable of virtualization, for example. And we've also seen this growing trend towards hybrid learning. I think post-COVID, there's been an even greater drive to rethink learning spaces and to move from traditional labs to more flexible open learning. And of course, there's continued pressures on existing lab space as well. Many universities have a growth in distance learning, or courses in cybersecurity in particular are growing due to that demand that we talked about. So, that can place even more demand on internal IT as well. One of the things that we place a great importance on at Aporto is to guarantee that all students get exactly the same access to our cyber labs, just the same experience, regardless of the device that they're connecting from. And one of the other challenges that we're seeing for campus IT is, the growth in cybersecurity and IT jobs has actually drawn many IT professionals away from universities and into the private sector. Phil and I are both guilty of that. So, that's one of the challenges. A common problem might be that IT departments are struggling to get the resources, the staff to actually deliver these kinds of projects. And that has led to a lot of IT departments pursuing a cloud smart strategy. And so, things like desktop as a service can be very effectively delivered from the cloud. We can support all the different devices, whether it's students on Mac, Chromebook, and low-end Windows. We know that you're always trying to do more with less. So, shrinking IT budgets, I think we can probably help you there as well. So just before we move on, we just wanted to ask one more quick question. We're interested to know how are people delivering your cybersecurity labs today? So I think Phil's going to pop that one up for you.
Yep, looks like just a little bit of a copy paste issue there. So yeah, the question being, how are your cybersecurity or MIS and computer science labs delivered today? Just in case that doesn't come through. Okay, excellent. Responses coming in very quickly. Thank you, everyone. Give it another 5 or 10 seconds here. Okay, excellent. Interesting mix on this one. So in top place are lab desktops or laptops, followed closely by on-premise VDI. And then in the not too distant third place is a cloud solution. So a good mix.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good, Phil. So it sounds like most people have some kind of physical provision, or at least I think about half of the audience, but some VDI, and then just people starting to look at cloud solutions. So that's good to hear.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so how can we help you at Aporto? So in general, we provide virtual computer labs, and that includes Windows, Linux, and Mac desktops in the browser. But today, the focus is to tell you about our CyberLabs, and this is a dedicated Linux-based environment. It's completely isolated from your network, and we provide persistent virtual machines, so one for each student, which support nested virtualization. And what that allows is students to build their own networks, servers, clients with a range of virtualized hardware, and then perform all the different kinds of labs and coursework that are required from them on your cybersecurity courses. To help you get started with the platform, we also provide ready-made templates and content, both for CompTIA Network Plus and the Security Plus certifications. So you can more easily see what's possible in the CyberLabs environment. And then, of course, you can build out your own templates for teaching as well. Okay, so we're going to jump into a demo in just a minute. So let me hand over to Phil to talk through our features.
Perfect. Thank you, Phil. So I think most importantly, it is all browser accessible. A lot of the other solutions on the market require students to download and install a client, might require that student to have a VPN account. And that just adds not only a burden to students, but also a burden to IT, who have to now support students with those installations and configurations. So we've always focused on the browser from day one. We deliver amazing performance. And again, nothing to install, nothing to download, which makes it quite nice. Because we are focused on the browser delivery, we're able to optimize for light bandwidth usage as well. So even students in remote areas or more rural students will have the same great experience that students do on campus. On the faculty side, we integrate with all of the major LMS platforms so that faculty can embed the Apporto CyberLabs directly into their course. Students will then have a one-click launch experience directly into the environment so they can get started on assignments. We will show off the virtual classroom. This is a very nice synchronous learning environment for both on-campus and remote students, a nice way to bring together a group of hybrid or high flex learning to the cloud. We do offer faculty analytics, which we will show as well. And then on the IT side, as Phil mentioned, it's completely isolated from your network. So students can really get hands-on and to be able to develop the skills that they're going to need to enter the workforce and hopefully fill one of those, shortfall opening jobs that are out there, which we desperately need. We do deliver as a managed service, which we'll talk about in a second, but we don't lock our customers out of the platform. We give you training, tools, and access to be able to design and manage as much as you would like, but we're always here to back you up and always here to provide support. So it really is more of an extension of your team is the role that we play. And then for the budget holders, we do offer a low predictable cost. This is either by seat or by student, depending on whether it's the Windows Lab or the Cyber Lab. And on the Cyber Lab side, we do offer an annual subscription, but we also can do it based on semester. So we know in some cases, their classes are only taught in spring or only taught in fall. You don't need to commit for the full year for the cyber platform. You can just do it by a semester term. So that can help keep costs down as well.
All right. Thank you, Phil. I shall hand over the control to you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Click the right buttons here. That coming through?
Yeah, we got it.
Perfect. Right. So there are two different ways to access Apporto resources. As we said, through the LMS, it makes a really nice experience for students. They can go in, they can see the syllabus, they can see the course assignments, and then with one-click launch, get right into the environment to start working. The other option is coming in here through single sign-on to our app store, where they can as well do a single-click launch. One of the beautiful things about that integration with the LMS is that we're able to read student enrollment data. So we know which students go with which class and therefore know then which resources they should have access to. So we've tried to automate that kind of provisioning activity as much as we can so that folks on the IT team are not having to worry about, is this student in the right group? Do they have the right access? Are they consuming a license that they shouldn't be? We've tried to automate as much of that as possible through the LTI integration with the LMS system. So that can be really nice. Getting started is very easy. It's one click. We do single sign-on all the way through to all of our desktops so that students are not worried about additional credentials and having to double log in. So that makes for a good experience. I've logged into a Ubuntu Linux-based desktop. And as Phil mentioned, we do utilize nested virtualization. So this desktop that I've logged into, not only is it assigned to me and it is persistent, so it maintains state throughout the semester, it also lets me spin up and run additional VMs on top. We make this very easy by utilizing the very popular GNS3 console. And so we end up with a very nice drag and drop visual environment for students to work inside of. So this is one of the templates that Phil mentioned earlier. This is Network Plus based certification from CompTIA. And this is a fully operational network environment with endpoints on the right, routers and switches in the middle, and servers over here on the left. Again, this is meant to serve as an example. You can definitely teach directly from this, but you can also modify it and create your own examples. Along with the template, we do also include the lab guides that go with this. So here we've got a whole list of curriculum and lab exercises that you can are free to use, free to modify. Some schools include certain ones of these because it fits in with their structure. So that's perfectly fine, and we encourage that. In terms of the flexibility of this platform, two really important things. It's all drag and drop and point and click, and it's template driven. So in terms of making modifications using that drag and drop, it is as easy as, for example, removing this Windows server and instead adding a Kali Linux server. So we can just simply drag that from the device library and then grab a network cable, connect it to the switch, and then we can boot that up and log in and do whatever we need to do with it. So that quickly we're able to adjust and modify the environment. From the template perspective, it means that faculty and instructors, with the help of IT, with the help of us, whatever's needed, can build out different environments for different courses. So I can go from this Network Plus style environment to a Security Plus environment. So a completely different network topology, different roles for different servers, and now we actually have a pfSense firewall to play with. So all of that is possible within this environment, really giving the highest level of flexibility. You can add your own devices and your own images. You can ask us to do it. As long as there's no copyright violation or license violation, we're happy to build out whatever environment you need to teach with. In terms of teaching, there are some really, really fun tools that we've built in with Apporto, and these actually translate beyond CyberLabs over to Windows and Mac labs as well. So we're going to show off some of this now. We have a student screen sharing option, which allows multiple students to connect to and collaborate on an individual desktop. We're hearing more and more of social learning coming to the front. And this is a great tool to help enable students to do that. So even if one student is home for the day or maybe traveling with family, remotely, they can still connect with their classmates who might still be on campus and be able to complete an assignment, which is great. We also offer an academic broadcast option, so faculty and instructors can broadcast their screen to students and walk through an assignment with them, or perhaps walk through a lesson before letting the students loose to complete some exercises. When they do let them loose, we offer the virtual classroom. This is kind of the reverse view, where an instructor or faculty member can watch and maintain the progress of all the students in the class and see how they're progressing. And then we're very excited to announce that coming in just a few weeks is asynchronous collaboration. This is a modification of the screen share option, but we've enabled a time limit. So it doesn't have to be live screen sharing. It can be basically offline screen sharing, where a student can leave a note on their desktop for the professor. I'm stuck with this, section 2/1, and share a link with their professor. That professor can then connect later in the day, the next day, resolve that question for the student, and have that student be able to continue on. So let's try a couple of those things now. We'll start actually on the faculty side. So I've got a faculty logged in here, and we've got some notes that we want to share with the student. Basically, these are the marching orders of the day, right? So we're going to want the students to walk through these steps. There's a little class tip here as well, and of course some considerations to think about as they're going through the exercise. So I can, as the faculty member, I can broadcast this my screen to all my students. That can include the microphone. So if I want to give some verbal instructions, and again, I've got some remote students connecting in, they're going to want to hear those same instructions. So I can go ahead and start that broadcast. Back over on the student side, we get a notification that the faculty wants to share their screen. One of the features included with Apporto is multi-monitor support. So we support up to 3 screens in total. So a student who is sitting at a machine with more than one screen can actually pop this into a new tab, slide that over to another screen, and have 2 screens or 3 screens going. If, however, they are on a single screen device like a laptop, they can do a kind of picture-in-picture mode. So I can take this, move it over to the upper corner here, and keep in mind what I need to complete. So it's open CyberLabs, which I've done. I now need to open the template for today's class. This is a very basic home network. And then it's lab number 3 instructions that I want to pull up. So I can go in and grab that information and be able to get started going through and learning how to configure a home router, right? This is a very basic kind of set of tasks, but they're going to learn about SSH and HTTP access, how to secure the router, how to learn about DHCP and subnets, and there's a lot of good value here. As it turns out, this will be a joint exercise. So first off, I'm going to boot the router. We'll get that going so it can hand out some IPs. Again, all these devices are live, so I can actually monitor its boot process, make sure it's up to a point where it's ready to give out IP addresses before I then boot up my individual desktops. And you will note, I will have noted that from the class tips that my professor has broadcast to me. Now I can go ahead and boot up one of my desktops, and then we can see that boot process, and we'll know when that's ready to get going. So there we go. And first step is, what subnet am I on, right? So it's a simple matter of an ifconfig command, and we can see that we're on the 192.168.1 subnet. And this is where I'm going to bring in Phil as my lab partner. So I can create the screen sharing collaboration link here. And I've got 3 choices, which is quite handy as well. It can be view only, could be view and annotate, drawing on the screen, or in this case, we'll do full control. So I'll copy this link. I will then share this with Phil in whatever way that I want. I'm going to use just the Zoom chat today. He'll be able to then take that link and connect into my desktop, and I'll get rid of the professor view here just to make it a little cleaner. He'll be able to connect in and then go through into the next lab part, which is to connect via the web interface to this router and start some configuration tasks. And as you can see, I'm completely hands-off. Phil's doing all the driving, and we're collaborating across the Atlantic. So it's very exciting times, a lot of fun for the students to be able to work together on assignments. So there we are. Phil's into the router, and he's off to the races here. Now that, if I go back to the instructor mode just for a second, now that I am, in fact, have my students off and working, I can come over here to the virtual classroom and I can monitor their progress. So this screen will actually build a thumbnail for every student who has logged in to class, and I'm able to watch the whole class as they progress through the assignment and also be able to respond to requests for help. So on the student desktop, we have the option now to raise our hand. That is going to highlight to our instructor that we need some help by highlighting their thumbnail. The instructor can now zoom in, get a closer look at what's going on, and start an interactive chat or voice conversation with that student. So here we're able to make it an interactive two-way session, but it can be done in private, right? So that's not broadcasting the question to the whole class. It's just a one-on-one interaction with the faculty and the student. And again, it does support a voice conversation as well, all through the browser. So again, nothing to install. If Phil and Phil actually need some hands-on assistance, I can request remote control of their desktop right from here. I can go in, give them the right syntax for a command or click through to get them in the right place and moving forward again, and then just simply go back to watching the whole class and seeing who might need help next. So very, very powerful synchronous learning environment, again, from the cloud in the browser, and perfect for hybrid learning, high flex learning, distance learning. And what we're hearing a lot of from customers is fully online classes, right? It's a great offering that can be added to a campus. All right. I think that is the end of the CyberLabs demo, if I'm not mistaken. We did want to end just very quickly with a look at the Windows environment as well. So one thing that we've uncovered, and this is done across a lot of campuses, is they'll have a dedicated lab for computer science or cybersecurity, et cetera, but it is often a dual purpose lab, and they're in the process, or they're in the situation of having to dual boot desktops. So they've doubled their work, they've doubled the effort and they've got, Windows images for the Windows classes, and then they've got the Linux images for the cyber classes. It really just gets super complex and takes a ton of time to support. So we also can handle the Windows side. So I'm just going to launch a little dev desktop example that we've got here. Again, everything delivered in the browser. So we've got one final poll. And before I do this demo, let's throw that up. I can do it, Phil, or you can do it, whichever makes sense.
Yeah, I think I can launch that.
Perfect.
Okay.
So the question is about, accessibility to lab resources, right? Can they connect from their own device? Is there a remote option for students to be able to get into? So let's let a few seconds here to get those logged in. I would expect those folks running VDI, the answer will be yes, that makes sense. I would expect as well the folks that are using cloud, that would make sense. Curious about physical labs or physical desktops if they've got a process in mind there for connecting. Give it 5 more seconds. All right, Phil.
Yeah, it looks good. So yeah, it's a kind of mixture as you might expect. So some say yes, students can connect remotely, like you say, probably VDI solutions or existing cloud solutions. Some obviously not. Maybe I think campus labs obviously more difficult to do that remote connection, especially when you're trying to create a secure environment. That's a
keep
real
it isolated.
challenge.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, perfect. All right, so here I am in just a traditional Windows environment. A couple of nice features. Number one, all of what we've shown with screen sharing, virtual classroom, the broadcast mode, multi-monitor mode, all supported on all platforms in Aporto. So whether it's Windows, Mac, or Linux, it all works. On the Windows side, we're also doing persistent profiles. So that gives students the ability to save some homework files to their desktop. That's going to follow them every time they log in. We also provide really quick and easy access to cloud storage through our cloud mounter. So students can create secure connections to whether it's OneDrive or Google Drive, Dropbox, whatever the school wants to permit them to use. We'll store that connection in their profile as well. So again, every time they come back, it's there. In this case, maybe I'm just doing a Python programming class running on Windows, so I can pop open idle. I can get in and work with a specific assignment. In this case, we'll use everybody's favorite example, which is the snake game, right? So we can evaluate the code. We can go through and understand. We can make changes if we want to enhance it. And then right from our Windows desktop here, we can launch the game and embarrass ourselves on a live webinar how bad we are at this. So my reaction time changes with age, and I was certainly better at this when I was 12 than I am now.
I'm sure you've played this at least once before, Phil.
It's been a while, but yes. Yep. Can't quite get that one. But anyway, so that's a good example of, the ability for us to deliver not only the CyberLabs, but also traditional Windows lab. This can be, any software that you're already delivering today. And we're able to help with that as well. So I think with that, we're just about wrapped up. Phil, I think you've got some closing thoughts.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. Do you want to show the faculty analytics? Might be
right. Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, because it works across both the Windows and the CyberLabs. Might be interesting for people.
Yes. Thank you for the reminder on that. Completely forgot. Go back here. Yeah. So faculty analytics, this is quite interesting. So a lot of platforms will give you usage analytics, which is fine, right? That's good. We also surface, though, this idea of faculty analytics or learning analytics, where I can come in and select my class, select what resource I'm utilizing for that class, and get a really nice picture of cumulative usage across all of my students. We have even added in trend lines for the 25th, 50th, and 75th percentiles. So you get a nice idea of that kind of range or bell curve of usage. If you're then wondering about a particular student's performance, if they're, maybe they're struggling a little bit and you want to investigate, is it technology related? We can come into the class roster below, we'll pick on me, and add that usage to the chart for comparison. So here with the red line is my individual usage plotted against the rest of the class as a whole. And certainly a late start, several weeks past the rest of students. And if in fact my grades are slightly lower, that could be the cause. It's starting to pick up, which is a good sign, but we don't know if Phil, the student, is going to end on time, right? Or is going to be able to continue to complete assignments. So there's opportunities here to engage with students. Are you having a laptop problem? Is there an internet problem? Do they just need some additional tutoring with the software, right? Understanding how to interact with the system. It could be anything, but at least now there's a data point that speaks to technology use and again, gives the faculty the power to kind of reach out and help those students before they've got a negative outcome for the class.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. This might be a good moment actually to answer one of the questions that came up in the chat from Paul. He says, what options for faculty staff training on the platform are available?
Yeah, great question. So with Apporto, again, as a fully managed service, everything we do is included in our costing and our pricing. That does include faculty training sessions. We do admin staff training sessions for the IT folks as well. And we do 24/7 support. So if ever there's a situation, right, where some help is needed, simply reach out to us. All of our customers are assigned a dedicated customer success manager as well. They also are available to help with that. So there's plenty of support provided and no extra cost for training sessions and the like. So what we've got on the screen here is just a quick look at all that goes into the managed service that we provide. So typically everything below the orange line is what we do for all of our customers automatically. Very key in the middle there is cost optimization. We started in higher ed. We continue to have higher ed as our biggest group of customers, so we know how important this is. But we also are doing all of the setup, just troubleshooting, monitoring, alerting, protection, et cetera. And as we've mentioned, 24/7 support. Above the orange line is where IT and faculty will have access to our simple admin console. They can make changes to the environment. They can add to templates to CyberLabs, and et cetera. If there are time constraints, if there are resource constraints, as Phil mentioned earlier, we can even move this orange line up and we can take on all that you need us to do. It really is, we're there to lean on, and we invite that kind of interaction with our customers. And then of course, at the very top, everybody is into an awesome cloud desktop solution, just using their browser. So it is a great option.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. All right. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to pick out a few of the key benefits of Aporto. So, those are, first and foremost, we provide true digital equity. So you can access Aporto on any device with a HTML5 browser. So all students get the same experience. As you've seen, we provide the tools needed for collaborative learning, and as educators, that allows you to rethink labs and provide more flexible teaching options and teaching spaces for your students. And we are a true desktop as a service solution. So what that means is we can deploy very quickly. Typically 1 to 2 weeks setup time is all we need. And as Phil was saying, we will work as an extension of your team. So we'll save you a lot of time, not just in not needing to manage your own cloud or VDI stack, but we'll also assist you with the installation and updating of software in the desktops as well. And we do offer a low predictable cost, so it's very easy to budget. There's no surprises, there's no risk of cost overruns. We provide either an annual or termly subscription, so you know the cost in advance, and students can then freely use the platform anytime. And typically, our cloud CyberLabs will provide a saving of over 40% versus equipping physical lab spaces. And because all you need is a HTML5 browser, you can save further by, instead of buying new PCs, repurposing older devices as web kiosks and extending the lifespan. And of course, you can support student BYOD as well. So we did say we promised to leave a little bit of time for questions. So if you have got any questions, do feel free to pop those in the chat now, and we'll try to answer them for you. Any questions, no matter how weird or wonderful, very welcome.
Here's one that is one that we often see, but we'll ask anyway because it's important. Can students on Chromebooks connect and run CyberLabs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So again, any device with a HTML5 browser. In fact, I use a Chromebook at home. It works beautifully. And it's actually a really low cost device. So interestingly, I think, I probably paid maybe a third of the cost for my Chromebook as I would for a Windows laptop with similar features like touch screen and flip screen and that kind of thing. But just really nice device, low cost. And then of course, if I need Windows, I can connect into an Aporto Windows desktop. If I was studying CyberLabs, obviously I can access CyberLabs in the browser as well.
Perfect, thank you. All right, here's another one. Is there a public server that faculty could use to get up to speed before deciding or recommending this to their department, excuse me?
So what we would recommend you do with CyberLabs is to do a pilot with us, and we do offer low-cost pilots. And the reason for that is the CyberLabs environment, each user or each student gets their own dedicated virtual machine because, of course, they need root access. They need to be able to install, they can use tools like apt-get. They can configure things exactly the way they need it. And then the CyberLabs environment is then persistent for that user. So the best way to try CyberLabs really is to do a pilot with us. We can offer that very low cost. Typically might be 30 days. You might want to give access to, say, 10 people across the faculty and IT to really try it out. And we can give you access to all of the features in there as well. So you can really, you can put it through its paces.
Yep, perfect. Another good question here. Are there desktop environments set up in Apporto for graphic design and VR or AR applications?
Yes, there are. So in fact, when we demo the Windows side of Apporto, we do generally demo with SolidWorks, which is obviously quite a heavyweight 3D CAD application. So yeah, we have a lot of universities and colleges using Apporto to do CAD design for things like engineering students. Works really nicely. In fact, Phil does a great demo of that. So if you're interested in that side of things, get in touch with us. We could set up a call and actually show you how that works as well. I believe we have some customers using VR and AR as well. And actually, we're very close to releasing a USB driver, which will allow you to connect to those kinds of devices from the Apporto desktops as well. So that'd be really cool.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to mention that one of our customer success managers happens to be a very heavy-duty gamer and has been beta testing the HoloLens connection, and he's said it has behaved quite nicely. So yeah, we're close, as Phil said, to being able to release that to the general public.
Awesome.
Another question, is there any option for students to kind of save their work as they go in CyberLabs, or I think maybe the intent here is maybe offer like a recovery point as well. You want me to take that one?
Yeah, you go for that, Phil. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good question. the CyberLab platform is persistent at all times. So as they move through exercises, that state is always preserved, which is perfect, right? Because a lot of times these lessons are cumulative. They build on one from one week to another. But we do also offer students to take a point in time backup. So if they're up to a point where there's kind of a cliff edge of bricking a device or bricking their desktop and having it become unusable, they can take that point in time backup. And that gives them that ability to go back in time if they do make a mistake and something becomes unstable or unusable. So that's another good feature there as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really key feature, actually, Phil, from what we hear from customers, isn't it? That the students can revert themselves. So if they do run into trouble, they have the control, the power to do that. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to approach faculty support. It doesn't have to be an IT ticket. You know, they can actually revert themselves. And maybe worth mentioning as well that at Aporto, we will offer support to anybody who contacts us. So if a student has a problem, accessing the desktop, if they run into trouble with one of the features, if they were to reach out to us at Apporto, we will respond to them just the same way that we'll help, the IT team and faculty as well. We can direct them via your help desk if you want us to, but if they come to us, it's not a problem. We'll help them directly also.
Here's a good question. What kind of PII, personally identifiable information, does the platform keep on students and faculty, and how are data residency laws and regulations addressed? So actually, not much more than an email address is really all we need. We can anonymize, names if needed. That's pretty easy to do. Obviously, we don't have visibility into the content that they've got on their desktop. We do backups and we protect that data in that sense. In terms of data residency, we will deploy to whatever country or locality that you need us to be inside of. We are leveraging the cloud providers from Microsoft and Amazon, and they have data center locations all around the world. So it's typically very easy for us to meet those requirements of a school. So I think that one is a fairly easy and straightforward one for us to meet. Thank you for that.
Okay, just give it a few seconds in case there's any other questions that people were typing out.
One more that has just popped in there. With the collaboration between students, is there a limit to the number of students who can connect at once?
I think we can. I think it's unlimited, isn't it, Phil? Is that right?
In theory, it is unlimited. I think we've tested as many as 6. So if you go much beyond that, it becomes a class exercise versus a group exercise, I feel like. So, yeah. But yeah, in theory, it should be unlimited. But if you want to sign up and put it through the test, we're happy to support you on that. Awesome. I think we can probably put the lid on this.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, well, I guess finally to wrap up then, if you'd like to learn more about Aporto, do visit our website at apporto.com. There you can find more information, and we would love to hear from you. So do contact us via the website if you'd like a brief follow-up call to discuss your requirements, or if we can help with any further questions, then we're very happy to do that. If you'd like to try Apporto CyberLabs at your institution, then we do offer that low-cost pilot that we talked about. That comes with access to all of our features and full support, so you can really test it out. And finally, I'd just like to say thanks to Phil Spitzy for his great demonstration, and thank you to all of you for joining. We really appreciate your time and interest in Apporto. We hope to hear from you soon. Thank you again, and have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.